Hello everyone, this is John from Poker Kitten Studios, and welcome to episode 13 of our Introduction to Web Development and PHP MVC Programming. What we're going to be doing in this episode is actually finishing up our commands, and we are going to create our accessors command. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. We'll create the generator first, and then we'll go through and actually use an accessor. So what we need to do is let's see. This is going to actually be almost exactly the same as our service command. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and copy that out, copy that into here, and I'm going to use our find and replace. So I'm going to look for services, and I'm going to replace that with accessors. And we're going to go ahead and replace all, and do the same thing with service. So for service, we want to make that accessor. And so we'll replace all on that. And honestly, that should be exactly what we need right there. And so all we need to do is just actually set up our templates in order to have the generator work. So we'll go into views and go into code, and we'll create our accessors container and empty templates. So we'll need the accessors empty.blade.php and accessors container.blade.php. And again, because it's almost exactly the same as our service, what we can do is just copy out this template here for the container and use find and replace. So we'll use replace, and we want to replace services with accessors and replace all. And we are going to need a container for that. So we'll go and create a new container, which is going to be accessors.json, and that needs an accessors object, which is going to be an array. And so we have that. We have the container. Now we need is the actual template. So look for service empty. Just copy that, put that into accessors empty, and just find and replace services with accessors. And we want a capital A right here. So that's essentially all that we need to do in order to get this to work. Let's go ahead and test it out. So I'm going to close this down, close down our services, and save off our accessor command. And I'll open up our container, and we'll go ahead and take a look at our accessors folder. So it's PHP lace accessor make, and we'll do a user. And let's see, we have a undefined. Okay, so there is a mistake here because we are calling app accessor. So again, I'll have to use the find and replace, but this one should be very easy. We'll just do accessors, and we'll do app accessor, and replace that with app service, and replace all. So now we should be able to make the user. So we've made the user. We can see that that has actually appeared in our folder. It's formatted correctly. And we actually have that in our container as well. So that is going to work. And we also want to be able to access those accessors the same way. So we'll open up our app class and we'll just copy our services method and just replace the service with accessors. So we'll have to, let's see, change the name of the method. We'll have to change the name of the files. And just copy the name. So we'll scan through here and services. That should do it for us. And so we'll go ahead and take a look at our service or our accessor real quick. And what we actually want to do with this is we want to extend Eloquent. So again, we'll have to use Illuminate database. Eloquent model, and I don't want that to insert, and we'll use that as, well, I need to make sure I spell it right, as Eloquent, and then we'll extends Eloquent, and we don't need a method in here just yet. All we need is to tell it what table to use, and honestly, the way the Eloquent works is it works off of a plural basis. So if we have a users table, then the user model would automatically access the users table. But we can name it whatever we want to, and we can point it to a specific table. So I would point it to users, and we also want to specify the fillable options. So we'll say fillable, and this is just to protect against mass assignment. So we specify what records we are actually going to allow this model to access. And so we know that we have a created at, and we know that we have an updated at. So that's what we actually want to do. And since we are going to be working with it like this, I'm actually going to change our template just a little bit, just so that it does work for accessors. So we'll go into the accessors empty, and I'll paste this in. So I don't want to do that. We'll leave it like this, but change this to str to lower name. And we do want to use the namespace. So I'll throw that in right there, and that should work out nicely for us. So we can go ahead and just try to make another one. We'll do PHP lace. Let me make sure I got this saved off. PHP lace accessor make, and we'll make a roles accessor. So let's go ahead and take a look at that, and it looks beautiful. Except I actually did it in a way that I didn't want to. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to, I'm going to delete that one, and we'll close this one down. want to test the str to lower functionality. So say PHP lace accessor make, and then roles with a capital, because I like to use that as a convention to name all of my classes with an uppercase first letter. So we'll make roles, and we'll check that out. So yes. And one more modification, actually, now that I'm looking at it, I'm doing it. I don't really want it to be like that. I want it to be like this. So again, with the plural and singular convention, so I'll go to Accessor and delete roles, and we go into the template, and I'll add on an S after the fact, and that way we should be able to just make role, and so we have a role model is actually accessing the roles table, and so that is exactly what I wanted. So let's go ahead and make use of this. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and migrate up, and I'm not 100% sure whether I actually have that up at the moment, so I'm going to go ahead and check out PHP My Admin. If I can spell it right. So I'll go into the database. So yeah, we don't have anything in our tables at the moment, so I'm going to go ahead and PHP lace database, migrate up, and I'll go into our users and just insert a record real quick. So I'll insert a record, and I'm just going to change this to today's date. And there we go, we have a record. So I'm gonna go ahead and go into our app and just test this out. Again, I need to service database initialize, and then I can self accessor user. Actually, it's an echo self accessor user first, or user I believe this is it here, or user, we'll say where ID equals 1 first, and the created at. I believe this is proper syntax, however, I'm not 100% sure. I think this might actually have to go to an array, but we'll go ahead and try it out like this. So let's go into sexy and services user not found. So services. So we are trying to access it through the incorrect namespace. So this has got to be changed to Accessors. And column not found, unknown, column ID in the where clause. And there is no ID, so what I need to do is actually add that to the schema. So let me go ahead and PHP lace migrate that down, And so I'll go into our database, go into roles, and I'm actually going to set a table integer ID. Although I think there might be a way to set it up for just your primary identifier. So let's see. And so yes, actually you can set this as increments. So increments ID. And actually, as a matter of fact, I'm going to include that in, well, not our role, but I'll include that into our roles as well as our template, because I always want to give everything that I do an ID, an incrementing value of ID. So I will go into database, migration empty, and just add that in with everything else. So now I can migrate up, and we should have tables with incrementing IDs now. So yes, the ID is set as primary key and is set to auto increment. All right, so now I want to insert a record in which the ID will auto increment itself, and I'll go ahead and click go. This should be ID of 1, and so now there we are. So this is actually how our model works. We can, this is a very, very long way to do it right here if you just echo it out directly, but you could set something like user is equal to this here, and then you can echo user created at, and that would give you the same thing. So, well, obviously we see, let's see, on line 20, user is equal to self-accessor, and there we go. So this is going to make it really easy to work with a database, and that's one of the many reasons that I've actually decided to go with Laravel's Eloquent ORM. But anyway, that's it for this video, and thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.